All right, good afternoon, cyber traders. Welcome on back here this Monday afternoon, shortly after 2:30, Monday, March 14th, I should say. Great to see Norman, great to see Gary, great to see all of us live inside our Cyber Group trading room, and for all of us rejoining us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube. Welcome on back as well. Great to see Ray and Leda as well joining us live inside Cyber Group, loud and clear, it seems, from everybody. Perfect. All right, so folks, we got a lot to talk about. In fact, more on the crypto side. So I'm going to flap my gums a bit at the end here, talking about Bitcoin and perhaps what's ahead heading into the Fed meeting that will be finishing up on Wednesday, right? So I think overall there should be some, hesitation, anticipation for what's going to happen, whether the Fed raises the rates enough or if they kind of keep them around 0.25. But nonetheless, afterwards we're going to see a lot of action. So I want to talk a bit afterwards, as we after we go through the percent gainers and losers lists to talk about what's ahead for Bitcoin and perhaps the overall markets as a whole. So aloha from Patrick K inside Cyber Group. I saw Patrick clean up earlier, not per se on the TMC trade. I think it was MULN, Patrick. It was either the MULN or the AGRI. A lot of us did really well earlier today on the MULN and AGRI. For right now, TMC here on the screen up nearly 19%, getting the afternoon push right now. Hey, I'll tell you, this thing is pretty crazy because after such a big move that we had back on, I think it was Tuesday last week, where it ended up essentially making like a pop and drop type of play. And normally after that, you would expect for the stock to, pull back a lot further. Well, it ended up slowly over time pushing back up. And then just from Thursday last week, or rather Friday, I should say, Friday last week, ended up making another big pop, getting close to the highs that we had back from Tuesday. And another run up again here today. So pretty interesting to see nonetheless. And hopefully this stock makes a big, pop above those highs heading into the close. So TMC definitely will put on our watch list just to begin. I'll grab my water cup here from behind me to begin. All right, so let's talk about the MULN. Let's talk about that AGRI. And in fact, for all of us live inside Cyber Group, at least, I'll be talking about these trades, or at least very likely be talking about these trades tomorrow inside our live Traders Talk workshop. For right now, full disclosure, the MULN trade, I'm in on. I was calling it out earlier before this meeting started for Gary and for Norman, for those of us that were here live at the time. One of my last comments, I simply said, just, well, aside from calling out the SPY, I was saying MULN beginning to push back up, towards the VWAP at the time, 178. All right, well, it broke above it, starting to make a really strong push here. So for right now, absolutely, the MULN will put back on our watch list. We have major resistance on this trade off of 2, so we'll see what happens there. Bobby, who I'll be doing coaching with later this afternoon, hopefully him and I catch a nice runner, if not on this trade, perhaps. Probably not on the AGRI. AGRI, at least right now, this thing beginning to pull back a bit further here. Ended up making a beautiful move shortly after the market had opened up. Ended up making a nice slingshot effectively from 360, 370-ish, and then from there, once it ended up re-breaking above $4, going into 9:45, 10 o'clock Eastern. From that point, beautiful push. So, more of a morning run. I had thought, not definitively, but it was just speculation. I thought that AGRI and MULN would have moved together because they're two cheap stocks that moved in pre-market pretty well. And I thought after the open, we'd see similar, direction with them. This ended up making a nice push early. The MULN did as well, but right now the MULN definitely making a stronger, run across the afternoon. All right, so what we'll do, oh, actually, I didn't even start from the top here otherwise. Volt, I believe, is a buyout, and I'm going to skip over that. But otherwise, what we'll do is go right from top to bottom. We'll see what else we have to work with. Perhaps we'll jump back to this NLSN here in just a second and see what's doing on that. But RCAT to start, hey, this is kind of making a similar push to the MULN, actually. Making a nice run from earlier today from 2 up towards 280-ish. Pulled back and made a beautiful higher low. Nice bounce from 240. And for right now, it seems like on level 3 at least, I don't have my book map, my level 4 up for this stock right now, but you could see a 44,000 share iceberg on the ask at 275 for this trade. So, for right now, RCAT definitely going to put this on our watch list, more of like a level 1, maybe a level 2 type of stock. That means it's pretty low risk for most of our members inside our live trading room, certainly all of our students. As a trial member here, I'd still say to kind of sit on your hands, just kind of sit back, observe, read the chat, study our call out, see how we work together as a team. We wouldn't necessarily want you to be risking your money if you don't really know how to follow a stock that we're calling out, at least. And especially as we jump back to that NLSN here, this thing ended up making such a big push in the middle of the day. I mean, ended up getting halted off of some sort of news. I don't really even care to check, if we're being honest, and I apologize for the ignorance there, but it's just to say right now this trade, it's just slow and flat, not really doing a whole lot, right? And that means it could be a potential buyout if that's the case. Ended up making a nice pop to where it got halted, reopened up off the news much higher. But yeah, this thing's just been uber flat right now. You could say it's shortable, so if it breaks below support, that could be a potential, short opportunity. Yes, but it hasn't proven itself out to be across the last 30 minutes, across the last near hour. I mean, yeah, gradual drop. So if you caught it off the top, hey, kudos to you. But aside from that, you're not really getting much for the move. So I don't know. I mean, I'll pass on it for right now. Maybe if it ends up snapping under that like 23.50-ish, I'll look to come back to it. All right, we keep it going. TRQ, not a whole lot happening there. That kind of looks like a buyout. CEAD is not, but this thing is flat for the meantime here. Ended up making a nice move from earlier this morning and little pop going into the early afternoon. I don't think we had called that out even. Our focus was more so kind of on the overall markets, the MULN trade. And as we go down, I have a couple more from earlier today that we'll go through. But nonetheless, this ended up making a little push, but flat right now, pulled back down a bit. All right, AGRI, I'm going to skip over. It's actually just more of a nuisance to me than anything right now. It's dropping off and it's already traded 100 million shares. That's actually the type of stock that may look to freeze up your platform, depending on how much you have on your computer running at the time. Me personally, I got a bunch of crap on this screen right now, so I don't want to freeze myself up as I go through this meeting. So GFAI, familiar name from the end of last week, Friday, and then I think also we ended up trading GFAI, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, back from earlier this year, popped for us back in January. But a little move up here today. I didn't even think about it, didn't call it out. If you did well on it earlier today, very nice. Nice cheap stock. But again, same to be said on this as we just talked about on the CEAD, where it pulled back down. It's flat right now. I don't know. Let me just, for fun, just I don't know. They kind of look similar. CEAD popped prior to 2 o'clock Eastern time. GFAI started to make the higher high gradually around that time. Both pulled back shortly after. I don't know, just shooting from the hip there. All right, let's keep it going though, folks. Let's find some stocks that are more worth our time. I got a lot to go over, like I said, in regards to crypto here. KSCP morning stock actually we had on our watch list off of news. I think some sort of contract related news. A nice squeeze from the morning. Market open bottomed out right around 525-ish, 530. Then from there made a beautiful squeeze. But you got to be careful, right? History has a tendency to repeat itself. And as a new IPO, I guess, and opened up back at the end of January, popped up from like, what is that, like even like 5 up to like 26, 27 bucks. But look what happened shortly after. So why can't that work, or why can't that not work, but why can't that happen on a smaller time frame, on a lower time frame? So here on the 1 minute chart, intraday chart here, ended up making a pop and drop, but yeah, right now not looking good. All right, we keep it going. TMC already on our watch list. That's looking really good. Let's see what else we got. VYGR, familiar name, I think, from last week. Yep. It's not really trading a whole lot of volume, though, right now. So going to pass on it here. Got a bunch of ETFs. Got Moderna, pretty expensive, albeit, I know the vaccine stocks are moving earlier this morning. So just quickly take a look at this one. But yeah, unless if you're doing options on it, puts or calls, either way. I mean, more calls from earlier today, but either way, right now it's flat. So I'm going to pass on it here. All right, let's hop on over to the losers list, folks. Market, let me see, because this thing glitches out at times. I was going to show you the SPY chart here in just a bit, but yeah, obviously the markets ended up taking a bit of a dump off throughout the morning, heading into really the entire day, beginning to hold over support that I had called out inside the live trading room earlier, roughly off of 416.20-ish. I don't want to jump to the actual SPY graph here because it's going to freeze me up. So you can see at least on the 5 minute chart, nonetheless, for the SPY, it broke a little bit lower. I was was kind of giving a range of support inside the live trading room, but generally it held around there. It's still kind of holding around there, so we're not ruling out a break lower heading into the afternoon or even into the after hours. Potential sell-off heading into the Fed meeting, perhaps. That's just pure speculation, but we'll see what more so comes out of the middle of this week, right? But again, let's hop on over to the losers list here. The NKTR got crushed earlier. I know Fausto put this on the watch list as a potential short. And with that said, I mean, it's a little flat right now, but still trading about 29, 30,000 shares a minute. So that's pretty healthy for this type of trade here. It's, if anything, it may just be more exhausted heading into the end of the day. But I'll tell you, it's still pretty damn close to the lows. Still gives us a chance to try and anticipate a run down to the lows again, if not lower. Or, hey, on the flip side, maybe it's down enough that, 50, 60+% to where you could anticipate for the shorts to cover within the final hour, and we get a bit of a dead cat bounce. So, you know what? It looks a little slow and flat here, but I'll give this a little bit of a chance. Maybe I'll put this towards the bottom of the watch list right now. The NKTR, don't mind it. All right, well, if the markets break lower, let's try and follow some shorts just, maybe from the side list, let alone from the top of the losers list here. The KC trade, this is like extremely flat. It's pretty close to the lows too, but that NKTR is looking a lot, it's more active. It's trading a lot more volume per minute, even though it's trading only about like 3.5 million more shares total across the day. It's trading a lot more shares per minute right now by about 10,000 per minute, which is a lot. That means a lot here in this game of day trading. So, I'll keep the NKTR on our list. We'll kind of skip over the KC. Say this is at the lows too, but that gets to the point of like, how slow are we going to follow a stock? Like this thing is really slow. I want to make sure we can get more bang for a buck, if anything. So again, NKTR, I'm more of a fan of. Data trade? Nope. Pass on it. Now, Momo, how about this for like Leda, for Grant, for Kathleen, for I could say a lot of our students' names here, for any of our longtime members of Cyber Group. This stock Momo, we've been trading this stock for years on and off, like more off of news. I guess we haven't checked in with it in a little while, more because it's like kind of slower than anything, again, in terms of, opportunity costs. But, back when it was a $25, $30 stock back in 2020, 2019, we were big fans of this stock, Momo. I don't know what the hell happened. This thing, I saw Norman call it out earlier. I couldn't believe my eyes when it was like below $5 and still is here. So yeah, this thing's getting really close, not only to the, well, it's at the low of the day. It's getting pretty close to all-time lows, believe it or not. Back from 2016, bottomed out at $4.70. 492 is the low today. So you know what? I like it for that reason. Again, in terms of something that can move a bit quicker, I'd rather prefer, maybe like a DraftKings, a Neo, maybe an LI. This LI trades an auto stock, Chinese auto stock, if I'm not mistaken, relatively new IPO as well, back from last year, but or from 2020. But yeah, this thing's just looking pretty good. $17 stock, moves a little bit faster per minute in terms of cents per share. But yeah, LI we'll put on our watch list for right now for sure. Here's Chuck's PDD trade. He had called this out earlier. Beautiful, more as a drop off, right? When he had made the call out earlier in the morning, I was thinking there was a chance he was thinking, not that he, I was thinking it was just more of like a potential long call out. I was like, I don't really know. It's like a side list stock. It looks good. Don't get me wrong. Well, boy, once this thing turned over, man, this thing was a phenomenal short. And I know Chuck took advantage inside the live trading room of ours here. Ended up shorting it roughly, if I'm not mistaken, Chuck, and he would be the first to say, but I think from like that 29 level, 28.50 otherwise, beautiful drop all the way down towards just about 25, 25.50. For right now, it's just as, tradable as that LI stock. So yeah, PDD we'll put on our list for sure. Looking good. And as I kind of just skim the rest of the losers list here, I mean, I don't really see any other familiar names, but I'll still be free to check out anything that you folks want me to look at in the chat board inside the live trading room here. Let me know if there's any other stocks that look good either towards the lows or, hey, perhaps even towards the highs. There might be a stock going against the grain right now, like the RCAT stock or TMC that we didn't check out yet. So let me know on both ends. DraftKings, pretty close to the lows. This could be a stock to watch. AMC, kind of flat. Check out Neo here pretty quick. Neo has been incredible as a short over the last, well, this is a monthly chart, so very easy for me to say since, I don't know, back since the beginning of last year. But more than anything, just as I'm flipping it back to a daily, day over day over day, we've been calling this out as a short. So, yeah, Neo right now, I'd be more keen to put this on our watch list since we already have the LI stock on our list. Both are, EV stocks based in China. So, those seem to be moving pretty similar. XPEV is another one I know of off the top of my head. And I'll tell you what, this thing looks just as good too. Straight downtrend here, down over 14%. Good liquidity on the order book. So how could I not put the XPEV trade on our list? All right, folks, we're building up a good list right now. I'll post it here in just a few minutes, but I do want to talk a little bit about crypto here before I finish up. I've been, not to say lazy, a lot on my plate over the last 2 weeks, and I know I need to get back on a regular routine with posting videos on our live YouTube channel. So first and foremost, I'll just say this now for all of us on Facebook Live, YouTube, if you have yet to do so already, just give us a like, give us a subscribe on our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingyou. That way you could be more in tune when we go live, when we have new videos that post up. I know Fausto's done a lot of different videos regarding Bookmap level 4 for the Thinkorswim platform, while I've been doing a little bit more videos recently about Bitcoin over the last 2-3 months. So with that said, let me just kind of bring everyone kind of full circle. And what I want to do really quickly is just show the Bitcoin chart to begin. This is the exact chart that I ended up showing back from late January when I first made my first video on Bitcoin. So at the time, it was beginning to pull back towards 34.5 here, and I was not hypothesizing that this would be the bottom. This is simply the midway point between past major support, roughly off of 40,000, and then the next major support, which was and still is roughly off of 29,000 here from back over the summer of last year. So with that said, it ended up bottoming out, right? It did hold that midway point, which was pretty odd to see. I wasn't expecting such a clean hold, but more so than anything, my talking point on Bitcoin over the last, I don't know, 2 months nearly at this point, getting close to back from January 20th. I think that video was back from, it's to say we need to see support above 40,000. We need to see support above the, and I know this is a 200 EMA. I should have flipped that to a 500. So, typically roughly off of 40,000 has been a major support level recently, but we need to see 40,000 hold because that's right where the 500 EMA is. And that's what I've been harping on so frequently the last couple of months, right? And there have been several points where it's teased that, the snap off the chart, snap off the trend line to say, based off the run up it made, actually, I was anticipating on support looking to hold. Unfortunately, it did not. From there, again, another quick snap back above support. In this case, it ended up running into the 200 EMA from the daily and then came right back down. And now we're heading into the FOMC. So, going into Wednesday afternoon, once the Fed reaches its decision regarding the interest rates, we're going to see a lot of action, just not only across Bitcoin, across the whole markets, across the US dollar index in particular. That's something I do want to focus on as well at the end of this. But, that's been my talking point, 40,000. If we're not going to hold 40,000 as a critical support, just like I teach in stocks, right? For Gary and for all of us live here, if it's not breaking higher, there's only one other way it's going to go. It's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be so complicated all the time. Actually, to be very transparent, for March 14th, Monday this morning, Fausto ended up doing a webinar, a free introductory to day trading webinar, and he was, really harping on how indicators are lagging behind the order flow. And of course, nonetheless, I show all of these indicators, right? So when it comes to charting long term, I personally like some technical analysis, but I am going to show our heat map level 4 for Bitcoin here coming up. And it's going to reflect what happens if the markets begin to or continue to fall off, if anything, begin to capitulate. But nonetheless, on Bitcoin, I would anticipate to see support as low as 24.5, right around 29 here, at least, if we happen to see bad results coming off the Fed meeting. Now, I do want to show a couple of other charts, because if that's the case, well, I'm not going to go into specific altcoins right now, like Ethereum, Dogecoin, Cardano, not doing that here today. It's to say, though, as a whole, well, here's the Bitcoin dominance chart. And, I've been following this really actually with most of us inside our live trading room over the last year and a half. I've shown this infrequently, but over the last year and a half, I've shown this at times, showing Bitcoin's correlation or relationship with the rest of the other cryptos out there. So, with that said, I just want to show you, I mean, hey, it's really coming close to the 200 EMA. This is on a daily chart as well. So, it's to say when this moves up, that means that Bitcoin's, moving faster in relation to the other altcoins, or it's, healthier in relation to the other altcoins. So what happens if the market falls off? Well, Bitcoin's going to drop. Well, as the same time as that will happen, if this begins to have an outbreak above the 200 EMA on the daily, that simply means that the altcoins are going to crap out way worse compared to Bitcoin. So if you're sitting in an altcoin right now, Doge, Cardano, whatever it may be, I would be really careful, over the next few weeks, next month. I mean, look what's happened even since the beginning of this year, since mid to late Jan. We've seen the Bitcoin dominance chart begin to, move off support, to which I was hoping it would break, but it did not. So with that said, what happens here when it begins to break above the 200 EMA here, like we had back in July of 2018? Well, it led to a huge run up. If that happens while the markets fall off, that's extra trouble for the altcoins as a whole. All right. Now, something else, just really quickly, and this is actually in relation to the overall markets, let alone crypto as a whole. So, if you're inside the live trading room right now on this live stream as I'm doing this, analysis, if you're not interested in crypto, that's a-okay. But I do want to show you the U.S. dollar index. So, with that said, I've noticed at least over the last year to 2 years, when we've seen that, the US dollar index is moving up and up and up and up and up, that's where we tend to see the overall markets begin to fall off a little bit, or Bitcoin in particular. So that's where I'll say, look what happened back from July, August time of 2014, once the US dollar index ended up breaking higher. Well, we ended up seeing a huge run up. I have a fib retracement chart on this here, just from bottom to top. So that's where I could at least say, well, once it topped off, it had pulled back down to the 50% retracement. And then recently, it's had a little struggle in between, but it just slingshotted back above the 38.2. And that was back from the beginning of 2021. So with that said, if we happen to see a bigger push over time on the US dollar index, which it does seem likely, that could be some extra trouble altogether for the S&P. That could be some extra trouble altogether for Bitcoin. So that's something else that I'm keeping an extra careful eye on. All right. Oh, and lastly, actually, before I finish up this meeting here, really quick, I do want to show the level 4, the heat map for Bitcoin in particular. So this is the Coinbase exchange. I can cycle through a few different exchanges, including futures contracts. So it's to say, at least, obviously we need to hold above 40,000 and have needed to. So it's not looking good. If we happen to see Bitcoin really tank and fall off, to be transparent, today, as the S&P and the Dow have fallen off from the morning, Bitcoin's dropped off, but it actually hasn't fallen off as well or as steadily compared to the major indices, which was pretty interesting. I mean, direction's down, but not as extensive as much as the Dow and the S&P. So it's just to say, if we happen to get a real big overnight slam on Bitcoin, maybe they're kind of accumulating short positions, anticipating the drop. Just to, shoot from the hip thought. Well, it's to say, where could we find potential support initially here? Well, we have a stack of orders that have been building up right around 32,000, 31,000. This right here is roughly off of 30,000. So I'd anticipate for this support, this range, to act as a potential safety net. Does that mean it's going to hold right above the top here, 35,000? No. I mean, do I hope it does? Yeah, but altogether, at least, if we happen to see this continue to fall off, it wouldn't shock me if we happen to see it fall closer towards the bottom of this net, maybe right around 30,000, maybe right around 31,000, to which I end up seeing a little volume getting pulled from the book here recently over the last few days. This is kind of new to me. I'm just kind of recognizing this right now for the first time. From back on March 9th, we ended up seeing at least a little volume getting pulled from the bid. Slowly but surely, it continued to get pulled, over the, successive days. So with that, as we're beginning to see some potential support get pulled, think of that as the floor getting pulled from underneath you. I mean, that doesn't sound good, right? So again, if you're long on Bitcoin, especially before the Fed meeting, I'd be really careful. And then otherwise, at a minimum, we'll just see what happens after the Fed finishes up on 2:30 Eastern time on Wednesday, on Wednesday, March 16th. And we'll do another video similar to what we're doing right now and post it on our YouTube channel. All right. So for Norman, for Chuck, for Milton, for Michael, for Leda, for Chuck, for all of us live right now, I'm going to post and tweet the picks. I'm running a little late. I do know that. I have to jump onto a coaching call with one of our students, Bobby. Hopefully we do catch a nice runner on the MULN trade. If not MULN, maybe it's the TMC or maybe LI Short or NEO or any of the others, of course, that are on the watch list. Now, for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, again, give us a like, give us a subscribe on our YouTube channel, or at a minimum, if you have any questions, feel more than free to send it on over to my email address. Josh@ctutrading.com is my handle. All right, folks, I'll talk to you all soon coming up at 3:30. Take care.